The music box was her obsession. A gift from her grandmother, she'd said, a link to a past she rarely spoke of. It sat on the desk, a silent sentinel in this increasingly silent house. I found it again last night, winding it, listening to the delicate melody. It always felt wrong. Not the melody itself, which was beautiful, haunting even. But the way she'd look at it, a faraway expression in her eyes, a subtle shift in her demeanor. It wasn't a fondness for the object, I realized, but a yearning for something it represented, a life unlived, a path not taken. We built this life together, a life of comfort and security. But lately, it felt like a gilded cage, and she was looking out, not at the garden we cultivated, but at one hidden within the music box's intricate The garden wasn't just a visual element, it was a metaphor. A secret world blossoming within the confines of our marriage. I started noticing the small details, the way she'd linger in the conservatory, the sudden interest in exotic plants, the hushed phone calls taken in the garden. Each detail seemed to solidify a growing suspicion, a chilling realization that the woman I thought I knew was harboring a secret, a vibrant, forbidden life. The garden hinted at intimacy, at stolen moments, at a blossoming connection outside the boundaries of our shared reality. I felt like an outsider peering into a private paradise, a paradise I was excluded from. The scent of jasmine, her favorite, now carried a bitter edge, a reminder of the fragrant lies she was cultivating. She moved with a newfound grace, a lightness I hadn't seen in years. It wasn't simply a change in appearance, it was a transformation of spirit. The weight of our life together seemed to have lifted, replaced by a subtle radiance. She was happier, undeniably so, but her happiness felt wrong. It lacked the warmth of shared joy, the contentment of a partnership built on mutual respect and understanding. It was a solitary bloom, beautiful but isolated, a testament to a secret happiness cultivated in the shadows. I watched her, a ghost in my own home, observing a life I no longer understood. The rose garden, once a symbol of our shared love, now felt like a thorny barrier separating us. I tried to reach out, to bridge the growing chasm between us. A simple touch, a gesture of affection, but she recoiled slightly, her eyes darting away. It wasn't a rejection, not overtly, but a subtle distancing. I found the photograph tucked beneath her pillow. A careless mistake, perhaps, or a deliberate act of defiance. It was a picture of her, laughing, carefree, with a man I didn't recognize on a sun-drenched beach. The image was faded, as if it had been cherished, revisited countless times. The laughter in the photograph felt like a cruel mockery, a stark contrast to the silence that had enveloped our home. The man's hand resting on her arm, the way she leaned into him, it was a silent declaration of a connection I had unknowingly been denied. The photograph shattered the illusion of normalcy, revealing the cracks in the foundation of our marriage. We were living parallel lives, existing in the same house but inhabiting different worlds. She was rediscovering herself, embracing a newfound freedom, while I was trapped in a prison of doubt and uncertainty. I watched her from afar, a silent observer of her blossoming happiness, a happiness that felt inextricably linked to someone else. The marketplace, with its vibrant colors and bustling energy, seemed to symbolize her escape from the constraints of our life together. I felt like a relic of the past, a forgotten chapter in her evolving story. The city mirrored my mood, cold, isolating, and unforgiving. I wandered the streets, lost in a labyrinth of thoughts, searching for answers I knew didn't exist. Each raindrop felt like a tear, a silent lament for the life we had lost. The neon lights of the city reflected in the puddles, creating distorted images of my own despair. I was adrift, without a compass or a destination, haunted by the ghost of a love that was no longer. The anger came in waves, a searing heat that threatened to consume me. But beneath the anger lay a profound sadness, a crushing sense of loss. It wasn't just the loss of a wife, but the loss of a future, of a shared dream. The realization that she had chosen another path, another life, was a devastating blow. I felt betrayed, heartbroken, and utterly alone. Resignation settled in, a heavy cloak of acceptance. I knew there was no fighting it, no changing what had happened. I found the lock of hair nestled within the music box. A small, almost insignificant detail, but it spoke volumes. It was a tangible reminder of her secret life, a physical manifestation of her hidden desires. The hair was a soft, golden color, a shade I hadn't seen in years. It felt like a piece of her soul, a fragment of a life I wasn't privy to. The music box, once a symbol of mystery, now felt like a tomb, containing the remnants of our broken dreams. I clutched the photograph of us, a relic of a happier time. The image was fading, the colors muted, as if the memory itself was slowly dissolving. We were smiling, carefree, full of hope. It felt like a lifetime ago, a dream from a distant past. The city lights twinkled below, a reminder of the countless lives unfolding around me, each with their own joys and sorrows. I wondered if she ever thought of those days, of the life we had built together. The tear traced a path down my cheek, a silent testament to the pain I was trying to contain. I didn't want to cry, didn't want to succumb to the despair that threatened to engulf me. But the emotions were too overwhelming, the weight of the situation too heavy to bear. It was a single tear, but it held the weight of 1,000 unspoken words, 1,000 shattered dreams. She stood in the garden, bathed in the soft glow of the setting sun. Her expression was enigmatic, a mixture of serenity and sadness. Was she truly happy, or was she simply masking the pain of her choices? I would never know. The garden, once a symbol of our shared love, now felt like a barrier, a wall between us. I watched her from afar. I closed the lid of the music box, silencing the haunting melody. It was a symbolic act, a final farewell to the past. I couldn't bear to listen to that music anymore, to be reminded of the life we had lost. The silence in the room felt deafening, amplified by the absence of her presence. I was left with nothing but the echoes of our shared memories and the lingering scent of jasmine. I began to pack my things, a slow, deliberate process. Each item I packed was a piece of my life, a fragment of a shattered dream. The house felt empty, devoid of warmth and comfort. I walked through the rooms, touching objects that held memories of our shared past. It was a painful process, a final act of closure. I stood in the doorway, looking back at the house for the last time. It was a beautiful house, a house filled with memories, but it was no longer a home. It was a monument to a love that had faded, a testament to a life that had been irrevocably changed. I took a deep breath and stepped out into the sunlight, leaving the past behind. The cafe was filled with the murmur of conversations and the clinking of cups, but I felt utterly alone. I watched the people passing by, each with their own stories, their own lives. I wondered if they ever A letter arrived a week later, a brief, impersonal note. She didn't apologize, didn't offer an explanation. She simply said she needed space, that she hoped I would understand. The words were carefully chosen, devoid of emotion. It was a final severing of ties, a definitive end to our relationship. I walked along the beach, letting the waves wash over my feet. The sunset was breathtaking, a riot of colors that painted the sky with hues of orange, pink, and purple. I felt a sense of peace, a quiet acceptance of my fate. The ocean, vast and endless, seemed to offer a sense of solace. A single rose lay on the table, a withered reminder of a love that had once bloomed. Its petals were beginning to fall, scattering like tears on the surface of the table. It was a symbol of the fragility of relationships, of the inevitable decay of even the most beautiful things. Years later, I still kept the framed photograph of her on my desk. I would look at it from a distance, a faint smile playing on my lips. The sadness hadn't completely dissipated, but it was tempered with a sense of gratitude for the time we had shared. The rain fell softly against the windowpane, a gentle rhythm that soothed my soul. I sat by the window, watching the world go by. I had learned to accept the past, to move forward without bitterness or resentment. I walked down the city street, my head held high. The rain had stopped, and the sun was shining. I was alone, but I wasn't lonely. I had found a new strength, a new sense of purpose.